I would talk about renewable energy and its potential for Bangladesh and Malaysia. Choosing Bangladesh in the first place because Bangladesh is most densely populated nations, 162.2 million in 2011. Next, the world's poorest nation with a gross domestic product, GDP, and energy and electricity is necessary for technology development, higher economic growth and reducing poverty in a nation. Furthermore, Bangladesh is one of the least urbanized nations in that 72% of its people live in rural areas. On top of that, over 50% of Bangladesh's inhabitants live without electricity. And village areas are generally not supplied by grid-connected electricity. Here our current scenario in Bangladesh, which experiences a severe power crisis. Next, our primary energy sources are limited, such as natural gas and coal, compared to the development requirement of the nation. Let's see what's leading of renewable energy in Bangladesh. It's fossil fuels. Fossil energy resources in Bangladesh consist primarily of natural gas. The supply of domestic oil is considered negligible. Several small deposits of coal exist in the northeastern region of the country, but these consist of peat, with low caloric value, and very deep bituminous coal that will be quite expensive to extract. Only 15% of the total population has access to electricity. In 1990, only 2.2% of total households had piped natural gas connections for cooking, and only 3.9% of total households used kerosene for cooking. Bangladesh crisis. The rural and remote sector of the Bangladesh economy is characterized by a few categories, which are: 1. An abundance of open and disguised unemployment. 2. High man-land ratio. 3. Alarmingly large numbers of landless farmers. 4. Extremely inadequate economic and social facilities. 5. Low standard of living and a general environment of poverty and deprivation. For your information, larger energy supplies and more efficient energy use are therefore necessary to meet the basic needs of a growing population. It will consequently be necessary to include all sources of renewable energy and to use these in an efficient converted form for the people's benefit. Primarily this will be done in remote, inaccessible, unelectrified areas in a standalone system where grid expansion is expensive. This energy conversion will reduce pressure on the national power demand. This will not only save excessive grid expansion costs but will also be environmentally friendly, prospect that can growth in Bangladesh. Here there are: 1. Prospect of solar energy in Bangladesh. 2. Prospect of biomass and biogas in Bangladesh. 3. Prospect of wind energy in Bangladesh. 4. Prospect of hydro energy in Bangladesh. Let's compare what Malaysia have in renewable energy. 1. Solar potential. 2. Wind power potential. 3. Smart meter deployment. 4. Biogas. 5. Small hydro. 6. Biomass. Here are the barriers of renewable energy in Bangladesh. There are several barriers to using renewable energy in a developing country like Bangladesh. These include cost effectiveness, technical problems, and market barriers. Some issues may be specific to a technology, while some may be specific to a country or a region. 1. Costs and pricing barriers. 2. Legal and regulatory barriers. 3. Market performance barriers. For Malaysia, they have policies and incentives. Those are: 1. Malaysia has embarked into several key initiatives on RE. Some of these started way back in 1997 when Malaysia signed for Kyoto Protocol and committed to reduce greenhouse gas. Next, in 1999 Malaysia announced the fifth fuel strategy, where RE is the alternative power generation besides the four previous fuel sources, namely oil, gas, coal. Moreover, recently, the government has also announced that the national RE target has been revised to a more aggressive target, to reach 20% of RE penetration by the year 2025. Approximately 50% of the target will be coming from solar technology, while another 50% will come from non-solar technologies. And lastly, Solar technology is considered the easiest technology to be deployed, and also the low price that can be offered by solar makes it even more attractive. The other non-solar technologies need strong support from the government in terms of incentives to ensure project viability. For Bangladesh, developing countries, where access to energy is still not available for large populations, may provide vast potential for the growth in renewable energy sources. Efforts are being made in developing to increase the share of renewable energy due to environmental and sustainability considerations in energy usage, and to take advantage of the growing renewable energy market. Some renewable energy models have already been implemented in rural areas in Bangladesh. However, these models do not specifically allow the poorest peasants to have control over renewable energy technology and the income generated by them. The major sources of renewable energy in Bangladesh include solar, wind energy, biomass and biogas, and hydro. Other minor renewable energy sources are biofuels, gasohol, geothermal, river current, wave and tidal energy. The potentialities of these minor sources are yet to be explored. For Malaysia, Malaysia is blessed with an abundance of potential for renewable energy, including solar, wind, hydro, biogas, and biomass. Malaysia has less resources compared to other countries. In order for the government to reach the recapacity penetration target, it must be aggressively supported by government incentives and proper alignment in terms of government policies and implementation. For biogas technology, enforcement in terms of waste separation can be the enabler of the successful deployment of this technology. For hydropower and BESS, as these developments are capital intensive, government incentives will boost technology deployment. For wind power deployment, Malaysia has to explore by using suitable technology for low wind condition, as geographically Malaysia is located in an area that is relatively low in terms of wind speed. For large-scale solar, as this technology is quite mature, Malaysia can consider developing solar parks to boost the deployment rate. Finally, on the future for conventional generation, Malaysia will be still depending on coal and natural gas generation, but with a higher penetration of the conventional plants will potentially be changing role from baseload to standby generation sources as penetration increases in the system.